Hello, once again. Welcome to Free to Speak with Bobby and Paul. I'm Bobby, and this is Paul. So, welcome back, Paul. How you been?
Yeah, I'm okay. I've been well, and how have you been?
I've been well too. Busy, I think, as you've been busy, which is why we missed this past Sunday. So, and I think it's the first time we didn't get some kind of video out since we started doing this.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, it happens once in a while. So hopefully
Mm,
we can get um, more videos out in the future after this. Um,
yeah, and the fact that we've tried to do a virtual space, I think it won't matter wherever either of us is, we can always record. And at some point, like initially, we talked about hosting other people. Maybe once in a while, we can actually do something like that.
Yeah, we can bring on guests. And I think also
Yeah.
it would be helpful if I go back to the US at some point. We could continue to do these videos as we're figuring out how to do this. But
Mm,
so one of our comments, maybe you want to summarize it. Well, like one of our regular viewers is asking us to talk about a particular topic. Do you want to maybe briefly address what that is?
yeah. There's one particular person who is commenting about the community, the
Mhm.
LGBT,
Yeah.
those letters. And, you know, they have their premise for how people develop into such behaviors. And I might agree with how with his school of thought. But as we know, we're living in a world which is more woke than not. So in the sense that some of these things, however much they could be objective and however much they could probably be scientifically backed if there was intention to, they have been played down. So, um, and I think I've said it in one of my one of our other videos that part of the premise for people becoming um, sexually um, non-straight or having identity issues is just beyond normal biology, and it's more about trauma.
Mm.
You know, uh, and I will say this as someone who is practicing therapy that we see clients who present with um, negative sex behavior or socially unacceptable sexual behavior. Let's say they're promiscuous, multiple partners, um, intimate partner violence, um, and at least for Ugandans or for the African sake, being gay is looked at as, something which is not the norm. So I would still classify it um, in the not right way to do things in the sexual in the realm of sex, so in the conversation about sex. So, and a few clients that I've seen that have that are professed to be gay, digging down their story, they have they've had sexual trauma
Mm.
behind in their story, and especially when they were younger, because trauma is very potent among younger people than the elder people, because those are the formative ages of the brain, formative stages of the brain. The development is um, really very fast. A lot of development happens when someone is younger, and if while in that process when they are developing at a very fast rate, something traumatizing happens, it could disorient their approach to life. It could disorient. It has a high potential to have them having a different worldview. Yeah, which in my case is a negative worldview. Or they can adopt negative behavior. Which but the work people they're affirming some of these negative behaviors. So, but then for me, I would say trauma puts people in a space where they 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 can adopt negative behaviors as either symptoms of of a trauma diagnosis, or as coping mechanisms to or ways of managing the effects of the trauma. So it's not uncommon that among many people who have gender identity struggles and they're not heterosexual, that they've been let's say molested as children. Girls who are raped, or even not exactly penetration or raping, but let's say if a young girl was always being fondled by the bigger brother or the uncle or the servants at home, and they used to touch that girl inappropriately, they don't really necessarily have to be sex. This discomfort as a child, power to add to it the powerlessness as a child, or the assumed powerlessness of a child that they could not defend themselves, has a very great potential to alter how they perceive the sex action, the action of sex. So you find that this girl who has been fondled by the elder people when they were younger, they could easily associate sex to sex with a man as something negative or something painful, because during the process it was stored with powerless. The brain registered those actions of the adult as oppression, or as situations where the child felt helpless or powerless, and the pain that comes with it. So you find that the brain gets to associate sex with a similar someone of the opposite sex as painful and compromising the person's autonomy. So this person you'll find them avoiding intimate partner relationships with people of different gender because of the association that was formed earlier in their childhood. And it's the same thing can be said for the boy child. And you find that this association could alter what would have been the normal sexual adaptation. So yes, most of these people, at least from what I've seen, there's limited research out there. Even the one that is there has still been, I'm assuming it has been tampered with, because these are topics that, if there's an agenda to affirm these things, then even the objective research that does not affirm it would still be stifled and pushed out. But I believe that even with that, there's still a research out there that may still be difficult to get to, that points to this. The idea of being homosexual is more a traumatic reaction, a reaction to trauma, or a coping mechanism to the painful association that trauma brought.
Well, let's take a look at his comments, because we actually left a very extensive quote on one of our very extensive comment on one of our recent videos. So I want to kind of pick this apart, and maybe you can respond to different pieces of it. I think maybe you probably already responded to some of what he says, but maybe we can kind of tie some of what you're seeing into what he's commenting about here. Of course, this is a very long comment, and he's left several comments on our videos expressing some of these same kind of ideas. So hopefully this will satisfy his desire to see us talk about this. But he says, I want Paul to be the main person talking about the ugly facts I raised. In which to blame people like me, he says. A lot of noise in the background. I don't know if that's going to be a It's really coming in strong.
So I think you can always edit, right?
Yeah, but it's so strong in the background that it's dominating, and it's dominating over everything. The whole conversation.
I know, I understand. So what happens is that the place that I'm at, where it's a public space, but then there is this particular people that come from a particular place. They struggle with respecting other people. But then when they come to a space, they only care about how they feel and what they don't recognize other people. So, but it is well. I think I'm shifting to a place which probably can give us the freedom to actually to speak. I don't know. How is this now?
Good. I think I don't hear anything in the background.
Mm,
All right.
okay. Mm,
So, so continuing more with a little bit more of this comment. I hope in the future Paul can discuss these ugly facts about LGBTQ, including what I wrote many times about uh, the Pandora box being open in the 1960s and 70s. And I think he's talking about the lowering of the consent age for sex.
mm,
Just because Bobby talks too much about the term phobic or hate, when he goes on to say when ugly facts are phobic and hate. Sometimes his grammar is not so good. I have trouble figuring out exactly what he's saying. When ugly facts are phobic, I don't understand this, but so he wants us to talk about. So he's written many times about the Pandora box being open in the 1960s and 70s, and then he goes on to say that's related to consent age in many nations lowered to 15, 16, or 17 years old after LGBTQ activists demanded that. I don't know
mm.
how legitimate this argument is. I don't know what you know about this. Did
I
they?
don't know much.
Yeah, I don't know if consent ages were lowered as a result of homosexual activists. I would actually maybe put this out to this particular subscriber. Present your evidence for why you feel this way. I mean, you can make these statements in the comments, but why do you think that this came out of the gay activists, like the LGBTQ
Mm,
activists? Why do you think they're responsible for this? And again, I don't even know how accurate it is. It may be accurate that the consent age was lowered, but I don't know. I think down through the centuries, consent ages and ages that people are considered to be adults vary from culture to culture and from time to time. So, I mean,
mm.
I think you can go back far enough in time and in certain cultures when consent ages are much, much lower than 16 or 17.
Yeah, for example, our neighbors in Southern Sudan, people are marrying 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, and they're marrying them. Though of course, there is the written laws and the written consent age, to appease the people out there or the elite. But it doesn't stop the idea that people are marrying 13-year-olds and the parents are consenting, the children are per se consenting in quote unquote. But yeah, so it's happening even now, you know. I've heard of a culture where when a child is born, by the time they're 3 years old, they've already booked them a man. They even paid a dowry here in Africa. So these things are happening, and yeah.
Yeah. Paul can also discuss important facts that childhood sex abuse raises risk a person, especially a boy, will turn out gay in adulthood, and uh, LGBTQ have high rates of childhood sex abuse.
Also, I have an opinion. It may not be a research based opinion, but it's my own opinion or my logical. You know, this is something I logically think. With the rise of feminism, um, we noticed that the single mother families have gone high, you know, and children are being raised by single mothers. And I don't know about America, but here, usually the single mothers are very bitter about the men that they sire the children with. So they're very bitter. So the child grows up only knowing that men are bad people, and I can do anything on my own, you know. So the mom traumatized. There's something called vicarious trauma where you can transfer your trauma to your child. So because she hates men, she can implant that hate in her girl child, where the girl child can adopt that same um hatred towards men. So and that will also extend to sex, especially in terms of sex. So you find that this child does not like men in a sexual way. She cringes. She feels she's threatened by men when it comes to sex. So this child, what is at a risk because she feels more comfortable around girls, fellow girls, and with the culture, at least in Uganda, let's say when you're in a bar, um, girls hug, very deep hugs. They cuddle in public, and it's kind of acceptable. Um, and it has reached a place where they kiss, and it's still kind of acceptable. Whereas for men, when they kiss, everyone is disgusted. But back to the girl child. So this is a girl who has grown up with a mother who hates men because of her own trauma, where some man mistreated her or some things went bad in her relationship, and now she's implanting her beliefs in the child. So the child grows up hating or avoiding men, especially when it comes to sexual contact. But then she's hugging other girls intimately and cuddling in public when they're drunk, they're kissing. What are the chances that this girl could actually turn out a homosexual? The chances go higher. The chances go higher because there's already a deep-seated hate for men, which she has taken off her very bitter mother, and then the apparent acceptance of women touching themselves in public, and it's a risk factor that could actually make girls, let's say, homosexuals. But that's my own logic, really.
Okay. All right. So I think
I actually have to. We can close because I have to move. We can close and reschedule another time.
okay. All right. So let's wrap it
Mm,
up then. All right.
yeah.
So I think that about covers us for this week, Paul. Unless you have any additional closing remarks or comments to make.
Maybe thanks for the people who are following us and ardently responding to our videos. I would appreciate. And when we're not able to, we actually think about you guys. That's
Yeah.
why we came up with this improvisionary kind of approach where we can do virtual sessions, and because we value your your feedback. This is a space where we also get to express ourselves. So feel free to express yourselves. At some point, like I said, we shall be able to host other guests. Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, I just want to say that we've read a comment from a particular subscriber, for which I don't always agree with everything that he says. And I feel sometimes he comes across a little bit too strongly and a little bit too harshly, but we're giving him a voice. So we're not censoring. We welcome all views here, and we want to discuss all these issues. Um, so yeah, I'd like to thank everyone who's been watching us and following us. And we will try to get back in 7 days, but of course, with Paul getting busier and me getting busier, it's harder for us to, find the times to do this. So it may be a little bit more sporadic. You might see us disappear for a couple of weeks or maybe longer, or maybe we'll be back next week. I don't know, Paul. We're just kind of taking it 1 week at a time here. So
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully we'll see you in 7 days, but if not, we'll see you somewhere down the line. So keep on checking back. If you don't see us next week, if you don't see us the week after, keep checking back. We'll be back eventually.
All
So
right.
bye for now.
Bye.